was another big push turn for the Axis. We lost another nearly 300,000 men. Again, the enemy did attack us in every sector, pretty much. At least every front got attacked. The Axis, however, it looks like, has stripped their other fronts of units and in order to get troops to the map, and is suffering setbacks in other areas. Just going to do a quick overview of the combats because I'm not going to record this whole turn at night. I'm going to wait to record most of it later. So in the south, we were pushed off the river line onto our next river line. Nothing to do but pull back and hold. With southwest, we were pushed all along the front, albeit not far, but still alarmingly a lot of routes and shattered units near Kiev, which is not what we want to see. They're getting alarmingly close to Kiev. They took Zitomir without too much trouble. Alright, that's a little fine detail. Pushed us, fortunately, along the Western Front just to kind of consolidate, except they're kind of outflanking the Smolensk position, which is bad, but they were not able to take Smolensk. Wait, that's not Smolensk. This is Smolensk. They were not able to take Smolensk. They were pushed off of it quite bloodily. So that's at least something good. And a consolidating attack here pushed us away from Velhuluki, but did not take it. So that's fine if they want to keep on pushing this line up. We'll just retreat into the defensive terrain. Nice. And then they're continuing their push up northward, though again, it's slow but very bloody for us. So with a strategic overview here, it looks like the Axis is devoted less to pocketing us, though they have a couple of areas where they could develop pockets. They don't seem to be capable of pocketing large forces anymore unless we make a mistake. Instead, they seem to be going after possibly hard-coded objectives like Kiev, cutting off Leningrad, cutting off Smolensk or taking it, and then in the south just push in the general Rostov and Crimea ward direction. These are not going well for us. The forward defense is resulting in a lot of casualties, and I do worry that if our divisions never have a chance to recover, at least before fall, we could just end up in terrible shape and not being able to really form a solid defensive line anywhere. That said, our forward defense does mean that the fall is approaching. It is August. They have one more month of summer, and then they, after that, the mud season starts. So they've got one more month of maybe 4 more turns, basically, of good campaign weather before they'll start to see some slowdowns due to the weather. And if we can keep them in rough terrain-ish and keep them away from our main objectives, we did lose Pskov, but if we keep Smolensk, it may not be possible, but, you know, we keep a defense in the Smolensk area, keep a defense of Kiev, keep Leningrad from being surrounded, then I think we should be in good shape. So, for the Air Command phase, Baltic Fleet Command needs to retreat, though I'm not sure where it can retreat to. Leningrad should retreat. These guys can stay on flex. Whatever the fuck this guy is doing needs to retreat. Excuse me, why are you not retreating? Western Air Command can stay on flex. Northwest can stay on flex, though this guy needs to... The fuck is this? Retreat. And Southwestern needs to retreat as well. And Southern needs to retreat. Wow. What is this? Are you in the fucking... You behind enemy lines? What are you doing? So, starting off with the Southern Front, which we'll keep doing it. It's kind of been split in two by this German attack. I'll show the attack markers there. as you can see where the Germans have attacked, and hell, where they're fortifying behind the line. So what's going to happen is this left side, this side that is stuck in the western edge, they do have sufficient movement to get out. So they're going to get out of the pocket and behind the Yezny Bug. And then the eastern side is going to just stay on the part where the Yezny Bug is a major river. We're going to move our command, some of our HQs back off of it so they don't get surrounded. And we're just going to try to put as much of our any units that are still in good shape or have like good combat power, we're going to try to keep them on the lower portions of this river and just try to stop the Germans from pushing in towards Crimea and Kiev Rog in a timely fashion. We're going to continue holding on to not Kherson. This is Nikolaev. We're going to continue holding on to Nikolaev. We're going to continue fortifying there, and hopefully they don't take it. In easier modes that I've played before on normal, they never took Nikolaev, but this is hard mode. So we've deployed, and our line looks pretty, and our command structure mostly looks pretty, but unfortunately we have a lot of weak, very weak and depleted units along this river line. So this front is actually going to start needing reinforcements. It's been beat up a fair amount, and we've been neglecting it to give more urgently needed fronts attention. But if we do not give this front some reinforcements soon, it is going to be too beat up to actually meaningfully hold any sort of line, and we're just going to get repeated drubbings into territory we really, really don't want to lose. Also, Odessa, still active, still fortified. Got a rifle division and coastal artillery. The Germans have concentrated an enormous amount of German and Romanian combat power around it, so we may see that fall next turn. But if they do that, then they don't have it along the Yezny Bug, and that gives us time to dig in, so that's good. On to the Southwestern Front, which is an unholy mess. So in this southern sector, this kind of unnamed looking sector in between Nikolaev and Podgorica, we're just going to have to pull back behind the Yezny Bug. They didn't do a huge amount of advancing here, but we're just going to have to link up with the southern front. This little tiny bit of defensive terrain, just this fig leaf, we're going to have to defend, and then later on we're probably going to have to pull back to defend along these rivers, but we'll do one more turn of forward defense at least, and hopefully that doesn't get our army totally destroyed. In this middle area near Kiev, we are going to start thinking more strongly about the defense of Kiev itself, and we're going to have to absolutely make some kind of defensive line in this area, even if it means pulling our guys off of this good defensive terrain in the Pripyat. This position will become untenable if the positions to the north and south are taken. Well, we can't have it exist on this one rail line. And if, like, this is way less important than this anyway. So we're going to have to pull this back in, maybe leave a screen, maybe the paratrooper divisions will get to stay, and just make something happen in this area. This river line is good for us, but we may not have the units to man it properly. We're going to go south to north within the front as well. So the Southwestern Front, we've already been over this. We set up our little defensive line here and got some of the most depleted units further back. Hopefully they'll begin refitting and fortifying before the Germans get there. This mess in the center, we've basically just held the line, and hopefully we can hold them as long as we can in between here and Kiev. in the Kiev area, I do have some reasonable rifle units on the line, along with some of the old like refitting units. Um, so we're just going to continue fortifying that ring around Kiev and fortifying Kiev. I might make this whole defense of Kiev an army. Behind it, we've got some depleted units refitting, but they hopefully will add to this fort level here. I wouldn't call this a strong defense yet, but it's getting there. We also threw some very good units from the Pripyat area just right into the teeth of the German advance to try to delay them further. Really, we want this defensive terrain behind this minor river to be good for now, so that we can fortify Kiev further. Eventually, we're probably going to be pushed back to the Kiev area. Hopefully, we can stand some in that. And if worst comes to worst, then we do have the Dnieper line that we can go behind and fortify behind. Though that's like a failure if that happens. I also took the liberty of moving some of the Central Front's units. They basically are just making a screen as they retreat back through the Pripyat. The Germans will continue to slog through here, and they'll have to clear these fortifications regardless. Just the minefields and shit, so that's good. But now I'll move on to the Central Front and the south of the Western Front. So the Western Front, the main story is going to be up here, where we're going to have to do something about the breakthrough. But this newly formed Central Front, we're just going to be redeploying along the Chernigov area, well, really the Gomel area, just to try to keep the Germans from crossing the Dnieper line. We're going to withdraw from this area, the Pripyat, and just keep this two hex line where we have a railway until the rest of our guys can get out and either redeploy in the Chernobyl area or behind here. We've got some units, reinforcement units coming forward that we'll also throw into the line just to try to keep the Germans as well behind this river as we can. If we look here, they did, shove us back here in this area. So, yeah. So there. This line is not as good as this line is not as good as I'd like it to be. Could use reinforcements, but they probably won't get them, just because of all the combat they've been suffering from the Germans. However, it's about as good as it can be hoped for in this area, and we don't want to withdraw troops from more important fronts. There we have two rivers very close together, so if we get pushed back from one, we can go along the other, but it's not great, and we really, again, we do not want the Germans breaking into this open terrain around Kursk. That would be very bad for us, at least at this stage of the war. So that's the Central Front. We may transfer some more units from the Southwestern Front to it, but there's not really a good opportunity to, unless we want it to take over the defense of Kiev, and I don't think we want to. On the Western Front, the big thing is going to be this enemy breakthrough while around near Smolensk. That's going to be partly the reserve front's problem, but we are going to need to shift some Southwestern Front troops north along this little bend of the river. This part of the line is doing pretty well. They're probably going to stay, though the Germans are going to probably hit them. That's okay. But hell, we may shift the command south again. But for this part, we want to keep as much of this line intact as we can. Well, as much. We want to keep this line relatively intact, while also developing our line further north to stop the enemies, to deal with the enemy's flanking attack on Smolensk. Smolensk might be a lost cause at this point, but I'll let that be the Central Front's issue. I'm not sure if that's good, but it's what we did. We do have a line in this area. It's kind of ragged, and we do have fallback positions, though again, kind of ragged. Can retreat further into defensive terrain, but we are starting to run up on the issue of just depleted, like completely destroyed divisions that we cannot keep deploying to the front. This is an issue with forward defense. If your units get savaged too badly, you may not end up with anything, and it can become a downward spiral that only really stops when the German supply problems kick in. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Now onto the reserve front. Yeah, got it right this time. We have a big problem, and the big problem is that the Germans are trying to surround Smolensk from one side, and they are nearly taking Smolensk. So we're probably going to rotate some of these units into Smolensk just to try to keep them busy. Try to see if they'll have to attack it again. Another failure to capture Smolensk would be gravy. This side of the line is doing okay. These are refitting units, which isn't great to have on the front line, but they are in good defensive terrain, so that's fine. This side of the line is doing very poorly. We're going to need to move some of these strong units into the gap, and that's probably going to be one of the focuses for our reinforcements when we get there. I have done what I can. This is not a good position to be in, and we could get pushed back further. We may actually lose Smolensk this turn, which would be it'd be very bad if we lost like Smolensk and like what was the one in the south we were gonna lose, like Nikolaev or something. Whatever. It'd be pretty bad if we lost like Smolensk and somewhere else in this turn. We'll probably need to move reinforcements into this area. I am sounding like a broken record on the reinforcements because we need them everywhere. Wow. So now we move on to the Northwestern Front, where we have, again, the enemy has done this consolidating attack. These defeats are not as bad. They're mostly just retreats, but that does lose us the defensive position. So this area, we're just going to try to keep Velhiluki, keep the line around Velhiluki relatively intact, and just try to hold on to positions, basically. Up here in the north, they have not challenged this line, which is excellent, and could become a source for us to pull manpower down south again eventually. And if they do not challenge this line, granted this rail line is cut, but if they do not challenge the line around here, then a drive from this area, the Starsky-Ruski area, like the south of Lake Ilmen area, toward the Pskov area is going to be our big winter move. That's if they decide not to keep advancing in this direction. It looks like they're trying to roll up this line from the south, so we're just going to refortify in this area. Not the strongest move set I've ever made, but continuing to force the Germans to attack us in rough terrain where we are not actually being wrecked is good, and hopefully we will have some time for some of these beat-ass units in this area to refit up. If we're taking these numbers seriously, which I don't believe they're 100% accurate, the Germans have a truly frightening amount of combat power in terms of infantry divisions in this area. Yeah, this is 3 infantry divisions on this hex, and 3 more infantry divisions on this hex. So this they will keep pushing at the flanks of this, and then probably consolidate back. Once they've pushed the flanks of their offensive out, they'll probably push back on Velhiluki, try to straighten up the line, that sort of thing. So that's bad for us. Wow. But this is good for us. The fact that we have got units refitting along and entrenching fairly well, actually getting some good numbers in along this line is good for us. In the Leningrad Front, however, and the Baltic, we'll cover the Baltic as part of the Leningrad Front. In the Leningrad Front, however, they have pushed us away from Novgorod. Now, it did require them to have some hard fighting. We held here, held again, and then on the third attack, we finally retreated. that was a terrible route, but Novgorod, it took them 3 attacks to rout us, and here it took them another 3 attacks to get us. So our stubborn defense in this area is paying dividends. We are going to have to shift our forces east again. So the plan here is to just shift some of the rear line units east to stop or to arrest the German push in this direction, get some of these beaten units out, and continue to try to put units in between the Germans' area of greatest northerly advance and cutting Leningrad off. This Schliesselberg tile or whatever it is pretty important, because this is the most northerly train route into Leningrad, and if we have a rail link open, if they don't take these hexes, I don't think this links up exactly. Let me see if I can get a rail map mode. No. Oh, it's this is just rail damage info. It's not going to tell me. There's a way to see it, but we'd have to keep all this connected to keep Leningrad connected completely by rail. But if we get things to Schlüsselburg, then we can get them across the river with lesser transport easily. So we're just gonna. This area is now going to be the center of our operation. The Narva line is gone. We are going to keep Narva because it's a 3 fortification hex, though. Probably keep this Leningrad militia division in it as well, just if the Germans want to link up their rail system and bring in the troops from Estonia, make them push us off. Some of these troops in the south here are probably going to retreat north, just so we can afford to shift those troops northeast and get this area properly fortified, and the area near Novgorod properly fortified. We're also, if we can, any of the units that are on refit, we're just going to bring in to Leningrad or around Leningrad. We're going to keep any units that are there, and just start fortifying around the city. We're going to get this naval infantry brigade that just spawned, and we're going to slap that guy right into the Orienbaum fortress. We're probably also going to get somebody, this other naval infantry brigade will do just fine, into Kronstadt, and then these fortresses, just try to keep this as fortified as possible. This is a strong unit. I may keep it in Leningrad proper. But yeah, see you when that's... Oh, yeah. Before I see you when that's done. The Baltic. Nothing's really changed here. I am going to commit to leaving this guy in Tallinn and fortifying it. That could be a mistake. The Germans could just bag him. But I will, and I will also... how is that regiment stronger than this regiment? Whatever. I will also commit to just keeping these islands fortified. If the Germans do amphibious nonsense, which is possible, then we may have to retreat them by boat, but that's fine. They're just regiments, so if we lose them, it's really not a big deal, and we may as well fight for these islands. And we have done it. We have shifted our troops northeast to put this really quite strong triple line in between the main German spearhead and cutting us off at Leningrad. We've made this 48th Army kind of responsible for this area. The excuse me, the 11th Army responsible for the kind of center of the line, and then the 8th Army is responsible for the eastern segment of the line, with the Coastal Op Group Army just kind of picking up random stuff, as well as the Neva Op Group Army picking up the defense of Leningrad itself. So I think this is a strong position. Obviously, we will lose some ground, but the amount that we're making the Germans fight for the ground that they do take is giving me a lot of confidence here. I think they're hopefully reaching the end of their offensive capabilities in the north, or at least their broad offensive capabilities in the north. They're going to continue to hammer us, but hopefully we should be able to get a good defensive line in the Leningrad segment, and if they do manage to start breaking through, we will evacuate this western edge of the Leningrad area into Leningrad itself, and then just keep shifting east, reinforcing, and refitting. Also, even though we have some strong units in Leningrad itself now, this tank division is probably properly refit and all. We're going to keep them here, and we're going to keep them fortifying. I probably need to put something here as well. But we're just going to make sure that the Germans, not only can they not encircle Leningrad like they did historically, but we also want to keep them from just going oops, surprise, take it on the march, and taking those victory points away from us. So, reinforcements. Around Moscow, we have some new units coming in, not a whole lot, not as many as I'd want. A lot of these are Moscow militia, so they're going to stay in Moscow. So we're going to just have to pick and choose where our reinforcements go. Let's check our reserves. We are getting some units from our reserve that we will be able to dump into the pool in upcoming turns, but it is going to be this turn is going to generally be a lean turn for us, and that's going to be pretty bad. We'll see what we do. So we are going to spend some AP on building some units. We're going to build 4 mountain cavalry divisions, and that sounds weird, but I think a unit that is fast and also defensive and works in rough terrain is going to be good for us. It's going to below 32 AP, which we have 79, so about half. Maybe this is better spent on replacing commanders and that sort of thing, but I want more units. And we have, they're within our limit. So, yeah, that's that. By the way, while we're here, I did deploy my reserves, a couple to the north, a couple to the Smolensk area, and 1 each to the southwest and southern fronts. This is just bare bones fig leaf reinforcements. We did have more troops incoming from reserve, but these are lean turns, and we're going to have to make do with our increasingly depleted forces. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So with that, I'll hit the depots, and then I will send it off to the Germans, and hopefully we don't lose too bad.